Okay guys, so now we're going to learn about interfaces in Java. Now when I say interface, I don't mean like a user interface, I mean an interface is in the keyword in Java. Nevertheless, let's create a project. We'll call it interfaces. We'll press create. We'll put all of our interface stuff in here. So, to create an interface in Java, here's what we do. We go right click, new Java class, and then we'll call it animal. And you see this little drop down here you've probably been wondering about until now. Press the down arrow to go to interface and then press enter. That will create as an interface. So as you can see, an interface follows the structure public interface animal, and all our stuff can go in here. Now you're probably thinking, what is an interface? Well, an interface in Java is almost like a template, right? So it specifies what methods a class must implement. So it kind of follows on from the method overriding lesson that we had previously in the previous video. So how do we create the structure for an interface? Well, we go like this. So for an example, let's say we have a method that returns void that we want to be implemented in whatever implements this interface. So for example, let's say void make a sound. And just like we did in an abstract class, this doesn't have a method body. So you know how sometimes we have our method here, we have our code in here, blah, blah, blah. We can't have that in an interface. We just have a semicolon straight after that, right there. So void make a sound takes in no parameters, because that's empty. It's called make a sound and it returns nothing, so void. Now it's important to note that we don't really have scopes in interfaces. We can put them in, but they're useless because this is assumed to be public. So modifier public is redundant for interface members, meaning that we just don't need it. So we just have void make a sound. Let's have another one called void eat, and that will be a function for eating. And let's say another function, we want to return a string, another method, right? String return me, like that. Now, obviously, this is like a template, like we set up here, right? So whatever implements this animal has to have these methods in it. Now it has to have the same name, same return type, same parameters, everything. And you're probably thinking, why do we need interfaces? Well, interfaces are used to achieve sort of abstraction and support the concept of multiple inheritance. So we could have multiple classes that would implement these methods, but in a different way. Anyways, let's create an implementation of this interface. So this is kind of like a merge between sort of method overriding and objects and extending upon objects and things like that. So let's go Java new class. We'll call it dog. And we're creating a class here, not interface, just normal class. Press enter. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have this dog class implement animal. Now we do this by using the implements keyword like this. Implement space, then animal. Like that. And as you'll see, we'll get an error here because now within this class we need to implement the methods that are on animal. And this is a non-negotiable. You know, we have to do this. So everything that is on here, we have to create an implementation for. So we could write all of them out, etc., but we can actually generate those in the IDE. So we go right click, generate, and then we want implement methods. As you can see, it's selected all of them here for us. Press OK. and then it gives us the template code for all of this stuff. So it's a merge between method overriding and inheritance, right? So we inherit the sort of methods from here, but we override them at the same time. Very similar to abstract classes, which we're going to cover next. So this override keyword here was also covered in the previous video. So if you don't know what that means, go back to that. So now obviously we can just put our logic in here however we want. So let's just say system out print woof woof. And then for example, eat, we could have munch munch. And then return me, we could just say return doggy, for example. And that is how we implement an interface. In terms of how we use an interface, here's what we would do. We can go like animal equals new animal. Oh wait, we can't. Because this is the interface and we haven't overridden anything. So actually we can't do this. We need to create a dog instead. So we'll go dog equals new dog. Like that. And then we'll go dog dot make a sound, or dog dot eat, or dog dot return me. But obviously return me is just going to return a string, right? So we want to print that out within this bit here. So if we run that, let's see what happens. So obviously it's important, guys, that we use these interfaces properly, because if we wanted to create a generic animal, for example, like this, go like we were before, animal equals new animal. If we press enter, you can see like, whoa, it creates all this code for us here. And you'll notice that all we have here is the overrides of each of these methods. And obviously we need a semicolon down here. We just get the overrides of all these methods, and we can implement these just on the fly. So like we could say like woohoo, and then we can say like yummy yummy. So this is what I mean by an interface being almost like a template, because now even when we initialize an interface, we can actually just choose, we can override and choose what these functions do. So then this is all one line obviously, but it's all sort of stretched out. So if we go enter a few times to create some space, we can now use that animal. So we go animal dot and then make a sound. And then if we run that, then you can see that we'll get woohoo. So there's a few ways that you can use interfaces. We can extend upon them or implement them, or we can initialize them. But when we initialize them, we need to make sure that we fill in the empty methods that don't have a method body that are in here. So there's many use cases for interfaces in Java. So there's things like abstraction, loose coupling. And a good analogy for an interface is like, it's a job description. You might have different responsibilities within that job description. For example, all of these different methods here. And they might be tasks or duties, but it doesn't really detail how those should be carried out. And obviously it's down to different people, which are the classes or the implementations in here. It's down to these, how they should be carried out. But different classes, so for example, this main class here and that dog class there, can perform the same role of a job, but they might complete the tasks in a different way. So for example, an animal can do all of this, but how we go ahead and do this can be changed, either like this, where we create an animal and fill in what we want it to do, or we can implement it. This. So yeah, hopefully that was a decent introduction on interfaces in Java. If you guys have any questions, please do comment down below. If you liked the video, please do comment down below. And I'll see you in the next video in this series. Bye.